Hey guys, and welcome back to another Lost Bits video right here on TetraBitGaming, the series where I explore interesting scrapped, secret, and unseen content in video games. As requested by many of you guys, in this video we will be exploring Mario Kart Double Dash for the Nintendo GameCube. And similar to the Mario Kart 64 Lost Bits video, since there is a ton of stuff in this game, this video will be sort of awkwardly split into two parts, so be sure to check out part 2 when it comes out soon. And as always, before we begin, if you guys do enjoy this video and would like to support the channel and see more Lost Bits in the future, don't forget to slap a like down below and let me know what other games you'd like me to explore next. And with all that good stuff out of the way, let's begin exploring Mario Kart Double Dash. Before we get to the big stuff, let's go over a few more minor scrap things. First off, there are two unused hot air balloon models which were for whatever reason removed from the final game. Both color sets can be clearly seen in a pre-release screenshot of the game in the background of the Dry Desert course. Next up is an unused course logo for the Peach Beach course. As you can see, it changed quite a bit in the final version, showing a preview of the map as well as Peach with her hair up in a ponytail. On that same note, there is an unused mini-map in the game's files named award_map. This mini-map appears to be identical to the Peach Beach mini-map, except for being rotated 180 degrees, and it is twice the size. Seeing as how the award ceremony at the end of a Grand Prix takes place on Peach Beach, this kind of makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here guys. Although this next part isn't technically scrapped, I think so few people got to see this that it may as well have been considered unused. One of the most underused GameCube accessories was the GameCube broadband adapter, which allowed players to connect up to 8 GameCubes together via a LAN connection for multiplayer purposes. And interestingly enough, Mario Kart Double Dash was one of the few games that supported this feature. With this capability, apparently up to 16 players could play at the same time, if they could manage to jump through all the hoops necessary to get it set up. Anyways, an alternate title screen exists for this mode, and as you can see, it is quite different. One unfortunate aspect of this mode is that the characters are always chosen at random, but I suppose it would be pretty chaotic to pick characters with 15 other players. Although these LAN adapters are pretty rare and cost up to over $100 a pop, I would love to one day try this mode out for myself. Another similar cheat for this Lost Bit is an aspect of the game which was unused outside of Japan. A while ago, it was discovered that if you press LRLRXYXYZ on the options menu after a time trial race, a string of letters and numbers will appear. For a while, nobody really knew what this code was used for, but it turns out that the code stores information about the time trial the player just ran, such as the total race time, lap time, character and kart used, as well as the course ID. The only documented instance of this code being used was found in a Club Nintendo Japan tournament event which ran from January 15th to February 1st, 2004. In this contest, contestants had to enter this code as an entry. The winners of this contest would also have to send in their memory cards as proof of being the winner. Contestants all received Club Nintendo points, and the winners were featured on the contest website along with a video of their race. This all eventually became colloquially known as the Double Dash Lost Japanese Contest. And next up, let's have a look at a pair of demo discs which were distributed before the game's final release, which contained earlier builds of the game. The first of these discs is the interactive multi-game demo disc version number 13. If you existed in the early to mid 2000s and visited like any game store and played a GameCube demo, I'm sure you remember these discs. Anyways, the early build of the game on this disc in particular reveals a plethora of unused content, so let's jump right to it. The first difference seen is actually in the character selection screen. Although not a huge change, we see that the box around the characters was made much larger in the final build, and also speed, acceleration, and weight stats were added. Next, many of the course preview images were changed. Now most of them were just images taken at different angles as seen here, but others show more drastic changes in the map, such as the image for Mario's Circuit, in which we can see a row of trees that was removed in the final game. And also for Dino Jungle, in which we can see a change in the coloring of pretty much everything in the course, from the dinosaur all the way to the skybox. It also looks like the red Paracupa attraction at Baby Park was also changed. Also on this disc, similar to the Peach Beach change mentioned earlier, an earlier version of the Luigi Circuit logo also appears, which was scrapped in favor of the later used airship design. Next is a set of some strange unused graphics. First, there is a set of images found in the files named Ending Arc. It features a man throwing a peace sign while also saying peace. Above the man's head is written "Exciting Ending," which is probably an inside joke by one of the developers. I mean, yeah, so exciting. Next, we have a few unused labels for the Time Attack mode. The first two labels translate to "Please enter your name" and "Time Attack," respectively. There are also the best rap time and total record headers, which were also unused. I'm sure best rap time is supposed to be best lap time, so it looks like Nintendo itself wants to perpetuate Asian pronunciation stereotypes. Next, we have some more logos that were altered from this early build of the game. Most notably, Mirror Mode got a big overhaul from a pretty basic looking mirror. Then Special Cup and the All Cup Tour were also slightly changed because the Special Cup crown totally needed a mouth because reasons. Next up is what appears to be a scrapped cup in the game known as the Reverse Cup. It is believed that, as the name implies, players would simply race around in the track backwards. There even exists a cut model of the first place Reverse Cup trophy. But your guess is as good as mine as to why this mode was removed from the game. And the last notable thing on this preview disc is the early set of character icons. Now at first glance this may not seem like a big deal, but then you might notice that Donkey Kong Jr. is among the other racers. Now this strongly suggests that initially Donkey Kong Jr. was slated to be a playable character, but eventually was scrapped in favor of Diddy Kong. The second disc is a similar demo disc, but this time one that was only available in Europe, which contained a build of the game closer to that of the final released version. The only real noteworthy content on this disc is an unused early version of Sherbetland. This version contains files for a Wiggler bus as seen in other levels, a Mario tree, as well as an early version of the Freezy enemy Stage Hazard. Very cool indeed. Mario Kart Double Dash unfortunately doesn't have any playable unused test rooms, so we'll move right on to the last stop of this series. It's time to move the camera around and take a closer and further look at some cool parts of the game's courses. And like I said at the start of this video, in order to avoid having like a 30-minute video, this series will be kind of awkwardly split into two parts. In this video, we will continue to explore the first cup in the game, and the rest will be saved for part 2. Okay, starting off with the Mushroom Cup, we have Luigi's Circuit. Now if you're anything like me, you probably at one point or another wondered what was inside the airship flying around the course, and hopefully it's not too disappointing to learn that the inside is actually absolutely empty. Throughout this and many courses in the game, we see these dancing trees, but what's interesting to note is that only the first or 2 rows of these trees are actually modeled and animated. If we take a look at the same trees further into the background, we can see that they are all just flat textures used to save on memory. I was asked by a few of you to check inside Chain Chomp, and well, I hope you like seeing Chain Chomp's creepy mouth open and close from the inside. Another notable part of this map is Luigi's Mansion, which is also seen in the distance. This house looks the most similar to the house Luigi gets at the end of Luigi's Mansion if you manage to complete the game with an A rank. Anyways, although the front looks great, from the back it looks like Luigi was going for a much more open concept. Similarly, there's the garage at the start of the course, which again is not textured in the back. And lastly, if we move the camera to the outskirts of the course, we can see that the hills, much like pretty much everything else in this game, have eyes. Kinda creepy honestly. Why do hills need eyes? Next up in this cup is Peach Beach. One thing that I really like in games like this one, Mario Kart 8, and Mario Sunshine is how the games show elements of other areas in the background of a level. For example, in this course, we can see Daisy's cruise ship, which is also a course in this game, sailing on the ocean. Now taking a closer look, we can see that it's not very detailed, but I think it's still really cool nonetheless. Now I'm sure that this rock formation has already been joked about a lot, but let's have a look at it from a different angle in all of its suggestive glory. It's really neat that when playing the game normally, the developers created the illusion that the city was very large, when in fact, if we zoom out, we can see that aside from the few buildings, there's really not much to the city, and there exists a dark void behind them, which we obviously aren't really meant to see. While in this map, I also decided to take a closer look at Lakitu, and when I tried to get too close, looks like I accidentally took his head off. Sorry, dude. Although Baby Park might not be the most interesting map to play on gameplay-wise, seeing as how it's just 7 laps of a basic all-brown shape, it certainly in my opinion has one of the coolest atmospheres, especially in the Mario Kart 8 remake. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff to check out in the background, so let's get to it. First off, let's have a look at the roller coaster which encircles the racetrack. As you can see, the Wiggler train thing is culled out of the map when not in the field of view of the player, and there's really not much more to it than a bunch of connected rectangles. Next, we can take either path to Kamek's Magic Show and see that both paths kind of just awkwardly end. And similar to the other buildings in this game, again the back of this building is untextured. I rarely notice and appreciate much of the background in Mario games as I'm too focused on the race, so I never really paid much attention to this red Paracupa thing, but now looking at it, it looks pretty creepy. Just look at those dead, soulless, unattached eyes. We can also take a look at Bowser's ships here and see just how low poly they are. Oh yeah, and how they are magic with their magic floating sails. Much like with the Daisy cruise ship from Peach Beach, in this course we can see another course, DK Mountain off in the distance, except this time instead of being modeled at all, it is simply just a texture. And speaking of textures, there's also this weird looking merry-go-round thing which features textures of really retro looking Goomba, which may even be Goombos, as well as some weird plain looking enemy thing. I honestly don't think I've ever seen it, so if any of you know its name, please let me know down in the comments. Another cool thing about this level is it kind of has two background layers. The first being this layer of mountains with eyes, and the second being the skybox. It kind of gives the map background a really neat depth effect. And the last stop for part 1 is Dry Desert, and although it is probably one of my least favorite courses in the game, it has a lot of neat stuff to see, like pyramids. With eyes? One of the first things I was curious to see was how the sort of mirage heatwave effect was done in the background. And it looks like the entire skybox sort of just weirdly oscillates, as we can see here in this cross section. If we move the camera beneath the ground, we can see that many of the monuments and obelisks in this course are also modeled below the sand. Again, in all of my time playing this game, I have never once noticed these character engravings on these obelisks. And it looks like for whatever reason, pretty much the entire obelisk is copy and pasted below the sand with the same engravings. Oh, also basically every boulder on this course has eyes too. Just thought I'd point that out. While exploring, I thought it'd be cool to check out the inside of the pokies, and I was not disappointed in what I found. I assumed that the spikes would be simply modeled on the outside, but it turns out that the developers kind of just modeled a clustered mess of spikes inside the pokie's body, and had the ends protruding. And I guess the last notable part of this map is the large piranha, which we can see is fully modeled even when out of sight, as it waits underneath the quicksand area to snack on some Waluigi. And with that ends part 1 of this Lost Bit. If you did enjoy it and want to see the rest, please be sure to check out part 2 as well, where I will explore 18 more courses. Also, let me know what you think is the most interesting thing I discussed in this video. And if you want to stay even more up to date with me and my channel, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram as well. Links to all of those will be in the description below, and I hope to see you guys there. And as always guys, thank you all so much for watching today and for all of your tremendous support, and I will see you in a bit.